So I want to start our interview by asking you to share a story with us. I've heard you speak about the way you were hired at Starbucks and the infamous introduction that the Howard Schultz gave you during your first board meeting at Starbucks. Can you share with the audience what led up to this infamous introduction, and what did he actually say when he introduced you to the board?
Well, first, can I just do some housekeeping first?
Why not?
Ephraim, I'm in for the $2,000. So me personally, I'm in. So there's one of the two right there. Okay. Secondly, because everybody's doing it, I might as well announce my candidacy for President of the United States. I'm not done. On the Trailhead party. If business starts in Boise, why can't a candidacy for president start in Boise? What was the question? Oh, yeah.
Howard Schultz's story.
Now, here's the story. So, at a board meeting, I was introduced to the board as the new president of Starbucks with the mandate that, is it okay if I stand up?
Absolutely.
With the mandate that I would, if I didn't mess it up, be the CEO in just 2 years. And so, I got introduced as a former chairman and CEO of Pathmark Supermarkets. Nobody knew that I didn't drink coffee when I interviewed with Howard Schultz. Nobody knew that. Howard asked me to go down at the beginning of the interview and get a cup of coffee at the company Starbucks store. He ordered a double macchiato, blah, 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 blah. I don't even know what it was. I said to the barista, a tall black. She goes, what? Did you mean a Venti Columbia? Yeah, I meant a Venti Columbia. That's exactly what I meant. So I grabbed my Venti Columbia with 2 hands, because it's that big, and I go start my interview with Howard. 2 hours later, I am so buzzed, I can't even find the elevator to get out of there to catch a cab to go back to my hotel. I go back to my hotel, my wife's there, she goes, have you been drinking? I said, yeah, coffee, but you don't drink coffee. I said, I do now. So Howard says to me, I'd like to introduce Jim to the board as the future CEO, but now the president of Starbucks Coffee Company. Howard Behar, who was the former president and also one of the original 3 guys that Howard took with him, said to the board, yeah, let me tell you the real truth, Jim, of why you got hired. This is important for all of you in startups, what I'm about to say next. It's so important. He said, Jim, we interviewed 10 candidates, and we took them through all the stores and the roasting plants. But of all the 10 candidates, Jim, you were the only one that was picking up Starbucks trash on the way to the store. Nobody else would even think about how bad that trash looked like for a Starbucks company. But I'm in the supermarket business. You always pick up trash. If somebody slips, that's a lot of money that you're going to have to pay. But for startups and for entrepreneurs, the point is, you got to do it all. You know you got to do it all, and nothing can be below what you think you have to do to get your business going, including picking up the trash on your way into the office. That was my question.
Can you share with the audience a little bit more about what characterizes your leadership style?
Well, that's a great question. It's a lengthy question. I got a chance to speak to 2 BSU classes last week on marketing and research. I told them how fortunate that you guys are to sit in this class at 18, 19, and 20 years old and be able to hear all the things that your professors are teaching you and that you're teaching you. I didn't have the luxury of sitting in a class and learning all the things that I wish I could have. It's probably what I consider one of my biggest regrets is not finishing up and attending a university that got me away from the everyday job of, at that time, being in the supermarket. But I learned something early on. I learned this in sports, and I learned it in business. Because you see, I was the 12th man on an 11-man basketball team. When I got in, we were either up 50 or down 50, but I was the only one that got standing ovations when I got in. I picked up my style of competing or doing better in business by this one little tip. Of all the jobs that I've had, every time I go in to turn a company around with a team, every time I meet new associates, Albertsons is no different. When I left Albertsons in '76, we had 65,000 employees. We have 277,000 today. So back then, at Extended Stay, at Starbucks, at Pathmark, at Hagen, they didn't care, the associates didn't care how much I knew, but they wanted to know how much I care. And once you start showing your team of executives around you, your team of 277,000 associates, that you care about them, you care about their cat, you get back in touch with them, you remember their name, you send them a card. Who does this? Every day this week, I have an email that I send out to a certain group of people. Tomorrow is 2,300 store managers. Starting on Monday, they're all getting my message for the week and a Valentine's Day card. Who does that? It's an electronic card, but it's my way of saying, hey, I care. And so once you start showing people you care, it works. From a startup mentality, you only have a small group of people that you're working with. If you can't show 5 or 6, 11, 12, 25 people that you care, what are you going to do when you get this thing to a size where you're going to have 2,000 people, 3,000 people? And I would encourage all of you in the startup business, in this new entrepreneurial role, to start working on caring for others now. Because all it does is build this foundation. It makes your business and it makes you irreplaceable.
We are taught as early stage entrepreneurs to take failure and bake it into the DNA of our organization. Embrace failure. The saying, fail early but fail cheap so you can recover and pivot, sort of comes to mind. Can you share a story with us that signifies failure in your career? In other words, what would be on Jim Donald's failure resume?
There's not enough space on my computer or paper to talk about a failure resume. I fail every day. I failed yesterday with my Chief Operations Officer, Susan Morris, when I tried to convince her this is where we need to go. I failed yesterday with Andy when we talked about an employee and where I wanted to go. You got to understand that life's about 80% failure, 20% success. I'm telling you, it's that right now. And if I were to go through my calendar for the last week on my phone, I could tell you all the things that I failed. If you want to be a leader, get used to it. If you want to be a good husband or a wife, if you want to be a good husband, get used to it, okay? Okay, sorry. My wife was here, I'd never say that. So I failed there today too. There's something she wanted to do, I couldn't do it. She goes, what good are you? I said, I got it. So I don't have a failure, I have thousands of failures. But all of you expect it and then get through it. Expect it again, prepare for it, take it on, and then get through it. What's important though is you don't dwell on it, okay? You don't dwell on it. You've got to tear every failure, if it's a rear view mirror, tear it down and keep looking outside that windshield. And also, the flip side of failure is success. No matter how small, you're at fault if you don't celebrate that success, whether it's with yourself, especially with your team, in everything that you do. Because that's the only way that people get accustomed and strive for success. Failure is tedious, failure is frustrating, failure keeps you up at night, but failure is a reality. And in the businesses that we're in, you know, I have worked all my life for founders. Joe Albertsons, Sam Walton, Howard Schultz, the Hagens. And founders are unbelievable people. Their babies are their babies, but it's also their work. And you cannot do anything to disrupt their thinking about making that business a success. And if I could count on everybody's hands in this room, the failures that Howard Schultz faced, that Sam Walton faced, you'd wonder, why are they still there? Why do those businesses still thrive? Because it's those little success stories that get magnified by you talking to others and making it a big deal.
Those are very encouraging words. Thank you. Not encouraging because my failure resume is very long, unlike yours, but more so encouraging, like I said, failure is baked into the DNA of a startup. You have to fail to figure out what you need to do right, you pivot, and you recover. So that said, let's turn our attention to Albertsons. Why did you choose to lead Albertsons? What gets you out of bed in the morning, fired up about Albertsons' mission?
I was asked to. I was retired. You gotta understand, I met Bob Miller when I was 20. I'll be 65 next month. I met Bob Miller when I was 20 and I was throwing up 2-liter bottles of carbonated soda, and he comes walking in and he goes, "Hey boy, how you doing?" I said, "Who are you?" He goes, "I'm your supervisor for inventory. Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm Jim." And so that's where it started back in 1976. I left Albertsons the same day Bob did. Bob went to Fred Meyer and I went to Walmart. Sam had called me, it's another story. Okay, so now I'm retired for the 3rd time. You want to talk about failure? I flunked retirement 3 times, okay? I just can't do it. So I'm driving someplace and there my phone rings and it's Bob Miller. Well, Bob calls and has called since 1976 at least once or twice a month. So remember what Bob said when he met me. "Hey boy, how are you doing?" He calls this time and he goes, "Hey boy, are you bored?" I said, "Leave me out of this. I don't want anything to do with it, and I'm definitely not going back to the supermarket business." I had just delivered a keynote for a REIT who has most of their properties in bricks and mortar supermarkets. And the day I delivered this talk was the day that Whole Foods bought Amazon. So the world was coming to an end for bricks and mortar. Multiples dropped. Albertsons was going public. They pulled their IPO. The last thing I wanted to do was go back to work. But it's Bob, my mentor for 45 years. I said, "No, I'm not bored, thank you very much." He said, "Well, can you go talk to our private equity company, Service?" I said, "For what?" "I want you to tell them what you think a new CEO should look like because I'm going to retire." I said, "Bob, I'll do that." I was going into New York and I said I'd talk to them. Bob convinced me to come back to help with the Rite Aid merger. For those of you who don't know, we were going to merge with Rite Aid. It was Albertsons Avenue to go public, and you may know also that merger failed. So Bob said, "Hey, I'm retiring and you're the new CEO." I said, "Well, great, just what I signed up for." So I came back because if you don't have a mentor, it's never too late. If you don't have a mentee, it's never too late. In the business of startups, regardless of the state that you're in, if you have 1 employee, 2, 3, 4, you still need to find somebody to mentee, and you need to find a mentee, I should say, and you need to become a mentor and have a mentor to help you get through all these trials and tribulations. So I'm back. Now I'm back. We had 500 stores when I left, 2,300 stores today, $8 billion in revenue in 92. 60 billion in revenue today, and 65,000 employees to 277,000 employees. So if it's, to give you an analogy of what it's like, if you're a finely, or not even finely tuned athlete, and you take a couple months off, and you want to get back on the treadmill, and you're used to running it on 10, but you haven't run in, say, I hadn't been in the supermarket business since 2002, it was like jumping on 20 on the treadmill, because I haven't stopped yet, but it's great to be back.
It's great to have you back. As consumer trends are shifting and technology is emerging and there's a change in demographics, how does that impact Albertsons' business? And how are you, as Albertsons, positioning yourselves for those changing dynamics in your industry?
Albertsons spent since 2006, going from a company that was gone. SuperValue had purchased it. SuperValue was selling pieces of it. Bob, with a great team, comes back and buys 600 stores with the Service private equity people. They end up getting rid of 400 stores and keeping 200. From the 200 stores goes to 2,300 stores today, 19 banners. So I can honestly say since 2006 to 2019, all capital, all resources was putting these companies together, number one. Number two, investing in technology to talk is one, not 19 banners, but absolutely ignoring what was happening at retail. Forget about Amazon. Forget about the work that Kroger and Walmart were doing, click and collect, drive up and go, if you will, scan and go technology at the Amazon store. And so Albertsons faced this changing environment, but you have to be careful when you say, how do we rack and stack? How far behind are we? The industry pundits say, although the UK is 25% of the total grocery business is drive up and go or online home delivery, we're right now in the United States in the 3 to 4% range. Pundits say that it'll get to as high as 10, and I'll be honest, we're at 1, but we got a late start. The question you asked me is being asked on my board every day, and here's my answer. There's a term out there, and I just learned this, called humble technology. And what that means is, what are you doing as a company to bring your company into the world of technology without disrupting your customers? And that's what we're doing. We're just not getting credit for it. I do video almost every day, 45 seconds, that goes throughout the entire store. Last week I did a video and I introduced 300,000 associates to Archie. Archie is a bot. It's a bot that works behind the scenes to make sure that our scanning is just perfect. That bot does 1,000 projects over a week, where 100 people would only do 1 project a week, okay? We've got bots in distribution centers picking 1,200 cases an hour versus humans that we can't hire picking 250. I was also in California last week where I bought groceries on my iPhone with scan and go technology, checked it out myself and was there. But this is where the business is going. Where you want to get your food, and by the way, millennials, Ys, they're coming back. They're coming back to fresh. We're predominantly a fresh-driven company. Over half our business is fresh. And that's the last mile that no one's figured out yet, so that plays in our favor. But the drive up and go is where we're at. And I was in Miami 3 weeks ago, and I talked to a company called Takeoff. And Takeoff is, if this was a supermarket, I would have this corner with bots picking items off the shelf at every 6 seconds versus an employee at every minute and a half to start going with our drive up and go technology to resolve what it is that you want. But we've also been in the home delivery business since 2002. Safeway, that we merged with in 2015, has been doing this in 2002. So I will tell you and I will tell the board, we don't sit and talk about this every day in press releases that we have. In our earnings report 4 weeks ago, I said we're investing both in technology and our stores and our people. And just like we can't have B-level technology in our systems, we can't have B-level technology in our people as well. So we're trying to get into that game, but we're not out of that game either. So we are getting to all of those. For those of you in the startup mode, don't discard what I see here today with products, with kind of old-fashioned stuff, because it's still alive, it's still well, and with retailers like Albertsons that love working with local products and putting them in our stores, it's still going to be there as well.
You know, speaking of scan and go technology, I'm going to highlight one of our members here who may be of interest to you in Albertsons, by the way. They're called HouseSmart. Their mission is to create retail where retail doesn't exist. Trusted spaces like co-working spaces, gyms, airports. Their stand is actually right over there underneath all of that artwork. The artwork is actually for sale from a local artist. You can walk up with your phone, scan the QR code, it'll take you to a digital store where you can buy and check out via PayPal. We are hosting a menstruation product packing party here on Saturday for one of our other members. Yes, I said menstruation. The Boise Period Project, please wave your hand, they're right there. They're on a mission to end period poverty and they take donations. There's a donation box at the front. You can buy menstruation products, donate them. We made it really easy for you. On Saturday, there's a packing party here. All of you are invited to volunteer. What they do is they help prepare kits for homeless women and the needy who can't afford menstruation product, which, oh, by the way, have a pink tax and are considered a luxury good. But that's a whole different discussion for another day. But speaking of members, I have two more questions for you. So this question I crowdsourced from our members. And back to Trail Mix. Trail Mix's theme is from farmer's market to supermarket shelves nationwide. Take Stacy's Pita Chips, for example. Started off 2 people selling pita sandwiches on the streets of Boston's financial district, then reached 60 million in sales, then sold to Frito-Lays. But the question is, on behalf of our food product entrepreneurs, what is it that you look for? What is it that Albertsons looks for as you select the next hot food product item? What should those entrepreneurs be focusing on as they scale their businesses?
Look, okay, so it's a 2-part question. What is it we look for, and what should the entrepreneurs be focusing on?
Yes.
What we look for, first of all, is local with quality. We look for local with quality. We look for local with quality. We are not a low-price operator, so you don't have to worry about, with us, an introduction of food products coming in and getting beaten up on price. Go back to the Melindas, go back to the Ys, go back to the Xers. They're looking for local too. And the more local we have, not just here in Boise with all of you, but I don't know if there's a Trailhead in Denver. I don't know if there's a Trailhead in Boston. But these are the kind of things that we in food shows and that we as being part of the community go out and search for. So that's the first thing. And you're going to find, too, that even my competition feels the same way about products that are local. It is what's trending right now. Now, what do you do if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to figure out, how do I introduce? How do I get these started? And I have it for you right here. This is JD's playbook. I have used this playbook since 1991 when I had my first since 1987 when I had my first leadership role. And this is what you need to look for. And it's these same 6 steps that I use to this day. I used it when I came back to Albertsons in 2018. Here's the first step for an entrepreneur. You ready for this? Have a fish story. Doesn't have to be a fish, but it has to be a story. People don't remember. Numbers, slides. Our brains are not hardwired to remember facts. But everybody remembers a story. And if you're going to sell your products in, don't present them. Tell a story with them. Second thing is, never be bigger than the front line. Sam Walton taught me that. It's true today. If you're pushing your product, make sure 2 things happen. When you get in to see all the big wheel buyers of all these things, don't forget the people you passed along the way. Give them samples. They're the front line. There's more front line people than there are executives. Of my 277,000 employees, 265,000 are on the front line. But also, make sure the product, this menstruation thing, is perfect about understanding the people that are actually in need of that product. That is the front line. Here's the third. Communicate consistently with everybody in the organization. Your product should be what you think about when you go to bed and when you get up. And your product needs to be on the tip of your tongue every time that you go shopping, every time that you network, every time that you're in some place where your product could eventually reside. The fourth tip is go where you've never been before. You got to check it out. You can't stay in your office. I say to my team, every minute you're in your office, you're useless. But as a startup, you don't have home court advantage, nor do you want it. Your home court advantage could be talking to the store manager at Broadway, knocking on the door at Intermountain, emailing Susan.Morris at Albertsons.com, who's my chief operations officer. Go where you've never been before. Fifth one. And I got one of these for you. Encourage risk-taking with the freedom to fail. For all of you startup guys, for all of you guys that are in bricks and mortar business, you're in technology. If you're not moving forward, you're going backwards in 2019. So what I do and have done all my career, and I think I have enough for all of you tonight, are get out of jail free cards. If you can't take the risk, damn it, take the card. I tell my employees it can't be illegal, immoral, or unethical, but take a risk, move the business forward. Wall Street Journal did an article, because I was giving out get out of jail free cards at extended stay. They called me, they said, are you really encouraging people to take risk? I said, yep. They said, are you really the CEO? I said, yep. So they came down and did an article, a 3/4 page article about the power of risk taking. And here's the fifth, and I mentioned this earlier. You're a small company. I'm a big company. If you've got 5 or 10 people, good for you. I got 270,000 people. I have to, at every chance I get, celebrate a success, no matter how small. Because little successes lead to big successes, which leads to a bigger wave, which leads to a tsunami. And so if you can do these things as you present products, as you think about products, I think this playbook would work for all of you as well.
We have a token of appreciation that we want to present you with. Are those?
You don't get one. Get out of jail.
Oh, man. So I want to call up Matthew Gilkerson to the stage real quickly.
Jim, this is just a small token of our appreciation for coming down tonight. It's made up of a variety of Trail Mix participants, products, as well as people showcasing their product tonight. So with that, it's an honor to have you, and thank you so much. Most importantly is an official Trailhead jersey.
You're on the team now, honorary member.
Official.
Got it.
And I'd like to invite Taylor Robbins up for a quick photo to conclude the interview.
This is our entire staff, by the way.